So this entire series, those who have been attending on a daily basis, we have been discussing about a lot of aspects. What are the key proteins which are helpful in the reversal journey? How they support your pancreatic health and the overall, well-being. Then we also discussed about the plant and the animal-based protein sources. We discussed about the ideal time to take the proteins, and today we are also going to talk about, the proteins and the gut health, which is very important. And to take this session, we have meet, Miss Vidya Halal. She's a passionate health professional with 7 years of experience in the field of food and nutrition. She holds a master degree from Mount Carmel College and has worked across diverse sectors, including pharma, organic health, and women's wellness. A certified diabetes educator, Vidya has been dedicated part of SugarFit from the last 3 years, and we are very, very blessed to have her with us in our team. She has been helping coaches because she's a team lead here with us, and she's helping and training the coaches to help you with the reversal journey. So this entire series, we were having the team leads who have been taking these sessions for us and making this entire journey much more simpler and easier. So I hope these complex, topics which have been very, very difficult to understand, they have simplified it very beautifully to make you understand the concepts and the root cause of diabetes. So welcome, Vidya, and thank you so much for joining us today. And handing over to you. There is so much of noise. I hope my voice is audible.
Thank you so much, Neha. I think you've been driving the protein series for us, right? So, thank you so much for that.
Welcome. So we can start, we are anyways recording. People will keep on joining in. It's a weekday, so we can expect a bit of less crowd. But yeah, we will continue with our, objective of giving the knowledge and spreading awareness about the protein. So over to you. I'm just muting myself.
Sure, Neha. Thank you. Very, very warm good evening, everybody. So, today we're going to talk about something very, very important, right? Which is protein and gut health. So far you've seen the other topics that has been covered so far, right? So, that's something that we will be looking at today. So today we are looking at proteins for gut health. So as you already know, proteins are very, very important for our body, right? Even if it's someone who's diabetic or non-diabetic, protein make an essential part of our diet. So we've covered other topics. So it's day 6 of the protein series. So let's talk about the importance of gut health. As most of you must be knowing, gut health is a very, very important topic these days. You must be seeing so many ads also, right? Which are talking about promoting gut health, uh, maintaining the gut microbiome, so many things. There are a lot of brands also in the market. You might have also come across some probiotics. So these are some things that we are going to look into today. So we're also going to understand how protein supports digestion, immunity, and our overall well-being. Right. So let's start with the basic question. Why is gut health very important? So we also called gut as the second brain. Think of a time when you were probably feeling unwell, right? So when you have a gut related issue, it is going to impact your digestion. Digestion will not be very great when you have any gut related issues. So think of a time when you had a digestive issue and how your mood was, right? You might be feeling very tired, your mood might have not been good. So these are all interrelated. So that's why we also call it the second brain. So it's very important that we maintain good gut health so that our overall mood is also good and that we maintain optimal health, because most of our nutrients, right, whatever we eat gets absorbed in the gut. So maintaining good gut health is very, very important for us. Also, a healthy gut will make sure that we don't have a lot of any other issues in the body, and also lowering inflammation. So inflammation will also cause unwanted problems in the body, right? You can see inflammation in different parts of the body also, but primarily it can start from the gut. So this is directly related to your diet as well. Depending on what you eat, it can maintain a good gut health. If you're going to have a lot of junk food, a lot of sugar, it's obviously going to have a bad impact on your gut, right? And protein also plays a very important role in gut lining repair and microbiome balance. So in our gut we have good bacteria and bad bacteria, right? So that balance is also being maintained by the gut. So if your gut health is good, only there'll be a good balance between the both. sometimes when you are sick, and let's talk about a viral fever or a fever, when you're put on antibiotics, right, you'll notice your gut health is not very good, because you might be facing a lot of bloating, stomach related issues, which is why they also give you B vitamins along with it, because antibiotics can remove all the good bacteria as well. So having B complex will help maintain that gut bacteria. So it is very important for us that we maintain good gut bacteria through our diet as much as possible. Okay, let's talk about how protein supports gut health. So the gut lining in the body is maintained by protein. So protein we require not just for muscles and tissues. For maintaining your overall well-being in the body, we require protein. Next is supporting of digestive enzymes. So when we eat food, right, whether it's carbs, whether it's protein, whether it's fats, for digesting all of these we require enzymes, and protein help to make these enzymes. So only if we have enough protein, these enzymes are going to be made in good enough quantity that it helps with our digestion, right? So next is feeding the beneficial gut bacteria. Like I told you, there's good bacteria, there's bad bacteria, we have both in the gut. So we need to make sure we are helping the good bacteria thrive and do so much better. We need more of good bacteria so that we don't feel that bloating, right? We don't feel lethargic, we feel good. So that's why it is important to maintain good gut bacteria. Next is reducing inflammation and preventing leaky gut syndrome. So there is something that we call as a leaky gut syndrome. Basically, your gut lining starts becoming very porous. So what happens is, now our gut is supposed to remove all of the toxin and unwanted material from the body, right? So that's the job of the gut as well. So sometimes when this lining becomes damaged, right, it's so the lining starts becoming a little porous, so these toxins tend to come into the bloodstream, which is not good, because our body needs to get rid of these toxins and not carry it in the bloodstream. Now this is something a very small population might be facing. This doesn't happen with everyone, but you will obviously know with certain signs or symptoms. So in order to prevent this also, we require good protein. So I think some of you would have already learned that we have two types of protein, right? That we look at. We have plant-based protein. We also have animal-based protein. Now, for vegetarians, plant-based protein will be the major protein source. For someone who's non-vegetarian, they can consume both. Okay, so what are the best proteins for gut health? Among the proteins, in plant proteins, you have lentils, all your dals, they're very, very good for your gut. Next is chickpeas, or channa that you call. So these are also very, very good for your gut. Then we have tofu. So tofu is a great substitute for someone who cannot tolerate a lot of dairy. If paneer doesn't, suit you or gives you a lot of digestive issues, tofu is a great option, and it helps you maintain a good gut balance also. Tofu and tempeh are both made from soya beans. They're made from tempeh is a little more fermented. It has a very specific taste which might not go well with everyone, but trying tofu can also be very, very good for you. So incorporating this into your diet for protein is wonderful. Then we have nuts and seeds, your almonds, walnuts, your pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds. All of your seeds are really, really great for gut health. But remember, you need to take them in right amounts. Excess of anything will not be good for you, right? Next, we have plant based protein powders. So we have two types of protein, right? So we have your whey protein, we also have plant based protein. So plant based protein are a little more easier for your body to digest, especially if you're vegan. This is a great way for you to incorporate more protein into your diet. Then let's come to your non-veg sources. So in non-veg sources, we have collagen and bone broth. So I'll talk a little more on bone broth as we go. Bone broth is something that is really amazing. It repairs your gut like nothing else. So it is made from bones. Some people make soups out of animal bones, right? Be it chicken, mutton, beef. So they just boil it a lot with some vegetables, and that is what they call as bone broth. It can be the same as any leg soup that you have, because it contains a lot of glutamine, also collagen, also, which is excellent for your gut. Okay, this can be made very, very simple at home, also, and you also get them in the market. So this is a great option for non-vegetarians, for them to incorporate in order for better protein to come in. right? Then we also have lean animal protein. Basically, red meat is not very, very good for the gut. Okay, so when you're talking about lean meat, we have eggs, we have chicken, we have fish. These are the best proteins which are also easily digestible and are not harmful to the body. Okay, so let's go to the next. Okay, so let's also talk about glutamine in gut health. So, glutamine is amino acids. So, we have protein in the body. When protein breaks down, we get amino acids. So, this is the basic of what happens in the body. So, glutamine is one such amino acid which is excellent for your gut health. Right. So, we've already spoken why gut health is very, very important, the role of protein. So, primarily, glutamine helps in repairing this gut lining, maintaining a very good balance. Okay, so we've already discussed leaky gut syndrome. So it helps or it prevents the body from getting a leaky gut syndrome also. So glutamine also supports very healthy digestion and nutrient absorption in the body. So which is also very important for us, right? Only if our gut health is good, our overall health, our physical health, our mental health will also be good. Next is reducing inflammation and bloating. So most of you would have faced bloating, right? When you have a lot of dairy products, or when you eat a lot more than you normally eat, you can feel this bloating. So it really helps with bloating as well. Okay, let's also talk about the top glutamine rich foods. So, what all foods can I eat that's going to give me a lot more glutamine? So, the first two are non veg sources. You have your chicken, fish, beef. Other than this, you have eggs. So, these are your best non veg sources in order for you to get good glutamine. So, keep all of this in mind because we will be coming back to this later. And Greek yogurt or curd or dahi that you make at home is equally good. Okay, so this is also a very good vegetarian source for you. Then we have spinach and we have cabbage, and then we have sweet potatoes. So what are the top glutamine rich foods? We have chicken, we have fish, we have eggs, we have Greek yogurt, we have spinach, we have cabbage, and we have sweet potatoes. These are excellent for your gut as well. Okay, right. Coming to protein and the gut microbiome. So we've already discussed this partially, which is protein helps in keeping a good balance between the bacteria. So we want the good bacteria in our gut to thrive. Basically, we want them to be more so that we don't have digestive issues. So that's what we are looking at. Then we have fermented protein sources. So fermented protein sources can be curd because curd is fermented. We have a drink called kefir. We also have tempeh that we had talked about, which is made from soybeans. These are excellent fermented proteins, which are great for your gut. Then we also need to maintain a good protein and fiber intake. See, there are two things we need to keep in mind here. Probiotics we get from food, basically. You get probiotic curd, ice cream, everything is available in the market. Of late, I've been looking at probiotic ghee also. So you have probiotics easily available at your home just by having the ghee. Any fermented food is also going to help your gut microflora. So we also have prebiotics. So prebiotics are types of fiber through the food which your body cannot digest, but they help feed the good bacteria in the gut. Right? When you have a lot of whole foods, let's talk about oats. Oats are a great source of prebiotics to your body, and you have some of your vegetables also. A lot of vegetables give you prebiotics as well, which is food for the bacteria in the gut. So a balance of both would make sure that your gut health is exceptional. Okay, and coming to a balanced protein and fiber intake prevents gut dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is basically when there is an imbalance between the good and the bacteria in the gut. So it's very important for us to maintain a good balance. Anything in excess, like I tell you, is never good, right? So we need a very good balance between the both. If we have too much of bad bacteria, also you'd be having gut health issues, right? So we need more of good bacteria as much as possible. So we have less of digestive issues and we have much better health. Okay, so this is a very important subject, which is the protein timing for gut health. So there are certain times in which when you take protein, your body takes it up really, really well in the morning. So having protein in the morning in your breakfast is very, very, very important, not just for maintaining your gut health, but it keeps any kind of craving away from you also. When you notice you have a good meal with a lot of protein in the morning, you'll notice you have very lesser hunger pangs. You won't feel like munching on something. So that's very important. So in your morning meal, it helps your metabolism and also your gut enzyme production, which we had talked about, which is very essential for good digestion in our body.
Little Hindi also. At the end, you can explain in one line in Hindi.
Sure, we'll do that.
Thank you.
So next we also have post workout, right? So post workout is after any kind of workout when you support your, it helps support your gut repair and muscle recovery. So mostly you'd be seeing post workout, a lot of people take protein, right, in the form of protein shakes or any other form. A lot of people also have eggs. So this is a great way and a great time for you to incorporate this. So the first is in your morning meal or your breakfast. The second is post your workout. So if post workout is in the morning, then make sure your breakfast is really, really great. If you're working out in the evening, make sure in your evening snack you are incorporating good amount of protein. So these are two options that those you can see in the pictures. Eggs are great. You can also incorporate during your evening snack a little bit of yogurt or any fruit. Make sure the fruit is not very high in sugar. Talk to your coach. Okay, and you can also have it with nuts, maybe soaked chia seeds or almonds. These are great options for you to have along with your evening workout. And before bed, if you notice, some people, not everybody, some people might get these hunger pangs at night, especially if you have an early dinner or let's say you're working for long hours at night, which is not recommended, but sometimes it does happen, right? So during those times, make sure you have a good protein based snack at bedtime. So that will ensure you don't wake up hungry also in the middle of the night. So having a good snack before bedtime which has protein can also play a very vital role for a lot of people who have inflammation issues and who also have, who are light sleepers, right? Small changes in the body might wake you up. And if you're feeling hungry and if it's going to wake you up, then it's going to not be good for you. So make sure you can incorporate. Again, it is not mandatory for you to take it before bed, but if you're someone who has trouble with this, then you can take it. Right. So coming to this. So these are some things that you might have heard often, right? What are some common myths about protein and gut health? So the first myth is high protein diets cause gut issues, right? But the truth is, balanced protein intake supports gut repair and microbiome health. So, high protein diet. So, mostly, I think in the previous sessions, they would have also discussed how much of protein you require. And most probably, without additional supplements, we don't really hit our protein mark for the day. How much of protein our body requires, we don't easily get it from food, right? So, a high protein diet is very unlikely, but you need good amounts of protein. So make sure you incorporate protein in all your meals. Instead of taking protein very heavily only in breakfast, take some in breakfast, some in lunch, some in dinner, so that your meal is more balanced. If you don't have protein, you'll also see that you end up eating a lot of carbs, right? We know if we have a lot of carbs, it's not very good in the long run. Okay, especially if you're diabetic, then having the right amount of carbs is very, very important. Okay, so by having enough protein, it actually supports your gut and microbiome health. So, next common myth that we see is animal protein is very bad for the gut. So, like we discussed, the type of animal protein that you take is very, very important. Anything with red meat like mutton, beef, pork is not going to be very, very great for gut health, right? So, our lean meat that we discussed, eggs are good. We saw that. Chicken and fish are really, really good choices. And if you're a non vegetarian, taking a bone broth or a bone soup is going to be very great for your gut, and they're not very hard to digest. You can digest them pretty easily and they'll keep you full for a very long time, which is also important, right? The last thing, this is something all of you must have heard, which is protein powders harm digestion. Absolutely not, right? So it depends on the type of protein. So I think a little bit of awareness is also important. So two great options are whey protein isolate. So compared to your ordinary whey protein, isolate is a little more easy to digest, which is why it is priced a little higher. right? Whey isolate can be easily digestible. Or if whey protein is not working for you, if you feel whey protein is causing digestive issues, we've seen with some people it might not suit their gut or they might have breakouts, right? If it's not working for you, then you can always opt for plant based protein. Okay, you have pea protein, brown rice, so you're using it from plant based sources, not animal based sources, and they are extremely gut friendly and far more easy to digest. Just make sure you don't end up taking whey isolate with milk, or your plant based protein with milk. Water is more than enough because they already contain protein. Right. So let's do an activity. I want you all to type in the chat box which vegetable is better for your gut. We just discussed this in the previous slide, which is why I was telling you we will be coming back to this. Right. So on the left side, we have sweet potato. On the right side, we have yam. We had discussed some of the best glutamine rich food, which is also good for your gut. Sweet potato. I see so many answers coming in. I'm so happy to see this. All of you have paid a lot of attention. Exactly. So, sweet potato is much better for your gut because it has a lot more glutamine when in comparison to yam. So, the right answer here is sweet potato. Right. Now, guess which protein is better for your gut. We had just discussed this at least twice, right? One here is the left hand side is more of a steak or a red meat. The right hand side, we have chicken. So, which one do you think is better for your gut? I see a lot of answers coming in. So many of you saying chicken. Excellent. I'm so glad that all of you have understood that it is chicken, right? Excellent. Right. So this is a tricky question. Okay, guess which protein is better for your gut. On the left hand side we have plant protein. On the right hand side we have whey protein isolate. So which one is better for your gut? I see. Yes, I see some of you getting the right answer. I told you, right? It is a tricky question. Yes. So the correct answer is both, right? We had discussed on the previous slide that whey protein isolate, among all the protein powders, whey protein isolate and plant protein are both easily digestible and are good for your gut. I will also show you that. See, whey isolate and plant based proteins. So both are equally good for your gut. So whichever works out better for you, you can pick that and go forward. Yeah, this is the last question here. We were just talking about this. I used a particular term in the previous slides. So this is something that is excellent for your gut. It's a non-vegetarian food. We had just discussed this, that it's great for your gut. Yes, I see someone
Not
has. Yes,
everyone.
yes, this is bone broth or bone soup. This is extremely great for your gut. It's very, very simple to make. I'll just give you a quick brief on how you can make it. So, you just need to saute some vegetables and add any animal bone of your choice and boil it well for a good amount of period. Give it at least a half an hour or 40 minutes. Let it simmer, let it take, and it's very, very flavorful provided you add the right kind of spices. You can add any dry spices also, and then you can simmer it and then you can take it. This is extraordinary for your gut. So if you can incorporate it, for non-vegetarians in particular, if you can incorporate it once a week, once in 2 weeks, would be exceptional, right? So let's also talk about what we learned today, which are our key takeaways. So how do we optimize protein for gut health, right? The first is collagen and bone broth heal the gut lining. So collagen is also great, glutamine is also great, all of which you get from your protein. So make sure you have enough protein in your diet. That will make sure you get all the required amino acids, protein, collagen, glutamine, which will help your gut function really, really well. Then we have fermented proteins. Fermented proteins, again, we talked about curd, something that is easily available, curd or yogurt. Then we have kefir, we have tempeh. Tempeh is also gaining popularity in the market. So you can give it a try if it works out well for you. You can cook it just like how you cook maybe paneer burji or sauteed paneer. You can just have it and you can see. You can make it into a flavorful curry. You can add any spices to it which suit you. So give it a try. Fermented proteins are really, really great for the gut bacteria. Then we have glutamine rich proteins, which we already spoke about. We saw sweet potato, we saw non veg, we saw cabbage and spinach, we saw Greek yogurt, all of these, which work really, really great for the gut. Then we have balanced protein and fiber intake, which is very important. So in your meal plate, whenever you see, there must be fiber, right, which come from your vegetables. There should be some protein source, and then there should be carbs. This should always be there for a balanced diet to make sure you get all your nutrients in the body. Okay, so it is very important to fuel your gut with the right proteins for better health. Yes, so we can come to questions. If you have any questions, I can take them up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vidya. It was full of insights. And thanks to our audience for being here with us. But now we are ready to take up the questions. So we can see there are a couple of questions in the chat section. Let me just take it for you. I hope I'm audible. Not so much of
Yes.
an.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So there's one question that what are the anti-inflammatory foods? Sorry, and the what are the inflammatory foods that we should avoid?
So inflammation can occur from different things from your body, but basically, two things which we say causes inflammation, which is dairy and which is gluten. Now it is not possible to avoid them altogether, so I do not suggest it. Probably in dairy you can look at incorporating more of paneer, more of curd over milk, right? And the other thing is gluten. Nobody can stay away from wheat. Wheat is something that is staple to us, so maybe try to balance it out as much as possible. So usually inflammation is caused by certain foods. Inflammation would also come from eating a lot of junk food, things with a lot of sugar, deep fried food, having a lot of outside food, red meat. All of these cause inflammation in the body, so keeping them at a minimal level would be really great.
Okay, perfect. So sometimes, Vidya, we have seen that person who is eating just the proteins also gets the spike. So what would be your advice as an expert to people who are just eating proteins, and what is the major reason for getting the spikes?
So you'll have to understand why you're having a lot of spikes because of just having protein. So you try and experiment with different food and see. Just don't rely on protein. We're not talking about having just a keto based diet, right, where you're only having a lot of protein and fat. Try having a balanced meal. Work on the timing. See on other factors also. So when you're having your food, how much of food you're having, everything matters here. So if you can talk to somebody about it, talk to your coach or your nutritionist, it would give you far more insight on how. We also spoke about protein timing, right? So that's also important. So when you're having your food, how much of gap between the meals is coming in, all of this matters. Your sleep also matters. If you're not going to have very good sleep, it is going to impact your sugars also. So yeah.
And two things I will add up, like if you're taking too much of, animal-based protein, and which is like, especially the red meat, it puts a pressure on the liver, which also releases extra, glucose by breaking down your glycogen. So that could also be one of the reason. Then having the late dinners. So now here it doesn't matter whether it is protein or what. Having the late dinner will give you the spikes because the resistance is pretty high at that time. So please analyze it by the coach because she knows you in and out and can give more deeper insights. Okay. Another question is by Mala ma'am that if protein is found in urine, is it okay to have protein diet? I think Dr. Chavi has addressed this entire topic very well in yesterday's session. So I just want to just reiterate once again that see if you're having plant-based proteins which can easily digest in your body, there won't be any issue. Majorly, like if you're not eating the balanced diet, then it's a major concern. And even though no matter how much protein you are eating, you don't meet up the daily requirement. So need not to worry about the protein, but the quality of the protein is important. आप अपने protein की quality पे ध्यान दीजिए. So this is something she mentioned yesterday. मैं recording share करूंगी, so you can refer to it later.
Absolutely. Like Neha said, see, it's very important you get multiple sources of protein also into your diet. Don't, if you're a non vegetarian, it's great that you have meat as your source, but don't rely entirely on meat only for protein. You can take some vegetarian sources also. You can rely on eggs. Have a variety of foods as much as possible to get the best of every nutrient possible.
Absolutely. And can you just brief a difference between the curd and the yogurt?
Okay, so curd is something that we make at home, right? So we don't have control over the bacteria that goes into it. So this is a very simple, this is an age-old technique that we've been using, where you boil the milk, add some of the leftover curd, and then you let it ferment. But Greek yogurt, majorly, you see a difference in the texture. Curd can be very thin depending on the type of milk that you have or you use to make the curd. Greek yogurt is made, is manufactured in, you know, uh, place. So where what also happens is they have live bacteria added into it. They add specific bacteria to make sure that it gets fermented and also has that desired consistency that you're looking at, right? So majorly consistency. And Greek yogurt, because they use such cultures, they have a control over protein also. So certain Greek yogurts can also be higher in protein than the curd that you use at home. So it's basically the same. More likely, one you make at home, one is made by companies. But I would say rely on what you can make at home first as much as possible. Curd is equally good. There's no reason why you shouldn't have curd and only opt for Greek yogurt.
Absolutely, Vidya. Very well explained. So, Vidya, just one more question. Like, if what is the difference between the workout if it has been done in the morning or if it is done in the evening time?
So I think this is also a myth that has been going on. I also heard from my parents that they were told you have to work out only on empty stomach, which is not true. See, sometimes because of work or because of other commitments, we might have a window either in the morning or in the evening. What is important is that you work out, right? So whichever slot or whichever time is available for you, please use that to work out. I would always suggest you try to work out in the morning because it has an impact on how you feel, how your mood is, and how your energy is for the rest of the day. But if you feel no, I find time only to work out in the evening, then that's absolutely fine. Working out is what is very, very essential. So keep that as the goal, not working out in the morning or in the evening. But I would still recommend you try and work out in the morning as much as possible, because sometimes after work, when you're feeling drained and exhausted, you might not want to work out, which is why we specifically push for morning workouts.
Okay, so there is another question that which protein, whey protein one can take. So, any of the whey protein which is unflavored. Whenever you're going with the any of sort of like either yogurt or about the whey protein or the pea protein, please check this is unflavored. There are a lot of metals and preservatives being added up to that, due to which you can feel a lot of spikes in your blood sugar readings. With another question is that what is kefir?
Okay, so kefir is not something we commonly find here. It's basically a type of fermented milk. So it has a very, very sour taste and a very pungent smell. But it's mostly found in the Gulf countries. That is where I have come across kefir, but you can find it here also these days. So you basically have a starter. So kefir, you get a kefir starter. You just add it to water or you add it to anything else, and it ferments that. And you can try and make it in batches at home. So you keep some leftover. You use that along with a fresh batch of water, and then use these kefir grains. They call kefir grains, and then you can use them to ferment your liquid. So typically, what you get outside as kefir is fermented milk, which is known to be really, really exceptional for gut health, but it doesn't have a very pleasant flavor. If you're making it with water or anything else at home, I recently saw a tender coconut kefir recipe, which was quite nice. If I can get the link, I will share it across. That would be great. So you can make it at home, provided you have the kefir grains.
And there are a lot of home bakers, if you just find it there on the Swiggy, there are a lot of home bakers who are preparing at home and selling it on the Swiggy. So you will get to know, like in Bangalore, there are a lot of ladies who sells, and it is very very pure. He said kombucha, like we have kanji, everything is available. So it all depends on where you are located. If you don't have a new city, then definitely we have a choice of preparing at home itself. But I think with this, we come to the end of the session. People who have been asking about the different options, how to add, proteins in the breakfast, snacks. So tomorrow we have the session on this. So how to implement the proteins in all your meals, how to meet up the daily requirements of the proteins through various meals options. So please stay tuned and do join the last session of this series, which is tomorrow, how to implement the protein into in your day-to-day life and the meals. Thank you so much, Vidya, for such an insightful session, and it was very well, very beautifully explained. I hope you all agree with me, and you learn something new with every session. So that is what our objective is. And thanks a lot for joining us. Namaste. आप जिसको English नहीं समझ में आई है, we will try to just prepare sessions of these in just in Hindi and different languages, because I think this is something that everyone should be aware of. So अलग session करना won't be possible, but yes, we will definitely prepare the different videos on in different languages, especially in Telugu and Kannada, which has been demanded, and Hindi. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We will take leave for today and see you all tomorrow for the last session. And if you have any queries, we can give you some extra time tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.